Ivan Wolonyolo reporting live from Entebbe on the mayoral race. Well, let's get into another conversation. The nomination of the incumbent Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to Ibuhabura that will be taking center stage today at Kyambogo University Sports Ground at 10 a.m. So we shall await the culmination of that. But then as it is, I do have Matua Job, the NRM voluntary media activist, with whom we are going to be bantering on the possibility of President Museveni being nominated today because it hasn't been approved. So I do have Mr. Matua. Yes. Mr. Matua, welcome to Morning at NTV.
Thank you. You will permit me to remove this mask.
Yes.
But I encourage Ugandans to wear it.
Indeed.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my brother.
Because the number of COVID-19 cases are increasing, 12,743.
Yes.
But as it is, we have the nomination of your candidate, that is President Yoweri Museveni, to Ibuhabura today at 10 a.m.
Yes,
Let us in on some of the preparations the NRM has undertaken in that regard.
Well, thank you very much. Fellow Ugandans, today we are going to present to you our best of the best candidate, our presidential candidate, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for nomination, which is a necessary prerequisite to kickstart campaigning in an electioneering period. We are truly proud of him. We have tested him. We have seen his significance. We have seen his validity, and we need him to secure our future. Nominations will be undertaken in Kyambogo. Our presidential candidate will be escorted in a yellow bus, which is a sign of the movement by Right Honorable Secretary General of the movement, Justice Kasule Lumumba. After nomination, he will head to Speak Resort and Conference Center Munyonyo to officially launch our manifesto, which is very comprehensive, covering the entire issues.
But briefly, Matua, let's unpack the manifesto for the NRM. What are some of the contents, the most important contents?
Before I go to the manifesto, allow me to put something very, very important.
Please go ahead.
Here. Fellow Ugandans, in 1962, this country got independence. After 68 years in colonial captivity, from 1894 to 1962, being in colonial captivity, we spent 24 years that we formally refer to as years of lost opportunity, from 1962 up to 1980. In 24 years, we had 8 presidents in Uganda. If that were to be democracy at its best, then Uganda would have moved very far, my brother Romeo. 24 years, on average, 4 years each per president.
But close to 40 years now, we've had only one.
Let me
Is that democracy?
Let me build my case. Yes. Now, in the 24 years, we saw military change of government. It is after NRA taking over power with the political wing NRM that we are now having 35 years with one president in a total stability moving forward.
But it's still a military government, Mr. Matua.
It is not a military government. Now,
you have Brigadier Sande Dewos who is saying even though opposition wins this election,
that is his personal opinion, not opinion of the force that he represents, which is a professional force, that I do respect, and I would not want to antagonize.
So here comes 1996. We hold our first election, Mr. Matua, and you are holding it under the theme as tackling the tasks ahead, which include corruption, job creation, infrastructure development. But more than 30 years later, Mr. Matua, most of these problems still persist. What makes you so sure if we give your candidate another 5 years, up to 2026, that you'll be able to cover all those problems within these 5 years?
Let me build my case. In the 24 years we had from 1962, Uganda only had one general election, that was in 1980, and a referendum about the lost counties in 1964, which 1980 election was a sham election.
Of course.
We did the likes of Honorable Crespas Kyoga winning, and they could not even take an oath. They had to escape.
Yes.
With Matos winning, and a different person being announced at this very place by the Nile Hotel.
Take me straight forward to 1996.
So I did
the first election.
Yes, I therefore want to tell Ugandans that it is this government of NRM that restored the hope of this country, which was lost by then, It is the hope that we want to secure going to the future. NRM introduced democracy that we all cherish today with the election starting in 1996. Now we are going to the 6th general election. We are having consecutive, consistent, free and fair elections.
It is really having consistent and fair elections, but then political experts are contend that elections are meant to keep despots or autocrats in power.
That is
you have Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde, who is also in this race in 2020.
Yes. Yes.
He's saying in 2001, when Kizza Besigye had just entered the politics of Uganda, yes, he told him the guns that were used to fight in Luwero are pretty much still around. So be careful. That is Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde. He also mentioned that he was part of the machinations to rig the election in 2001 in favor of the incumbent Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And you talk about democracy and so forth. We see opposition political parties being stifled. They are not allowed to operate freely. Is that democracy?
I want to first respond on that baseless allegation of General Tumukunde. If he was a honest person, he would have come out to declare to the country that he was part of it. Why was he silent?
Because he was part of the regime.
In whose interest was he doing so? So I want Ugandans to reject his assertion. It is not true. If anything, let him produce evidence. Election is about the exercise of the choice of people to elect the leaders they want. So I reject Tumukunde's assertion in totality.
Of course, we did talk about
this issue of opposition people claiming that their freedom has been stifled. That is a lie.
How?
Why? This NTV plus other television, they are always giving opportunity for the opposition.
But some of them are being arrested after they conduct these interviews.
Have they been stopped? Any opposition politician been stopped from coming to NTV?
But they are being arrested right after they get off the show.
The arrest is concerning the military stores that people are having illegally. They are not being arrested in the studio. So I want to reject that assertion. The opposition should just say they lack the capacity to do the needful. So I was still building that case. Now, from 1962 to 1986, Uganda had total confusion. When NRA took over power with the political wing NRM, then Ugandans were finally brought back their hopes. Then we started a new path toward democracy, the rule of law. Then even the economy, which had already gone to the doldrum, was recovered. Then basic enablers for socio-economic transformation were put forward. Then the country is developing.
Mr. Matua,
so can we look at the future? Can we secure the future?
Most of the political experts I've been talking to are not disputing that the NRM has brought about very, very unequivocal development in this country.
Correct.
They're saying the NRM failed to go back to revisit some of the projects they instituted.
Yes?
Yes, they did not revisit
Which
UPE.
one?
They did not revisit USE. They did not revisit the food feeding program. You have 70% of the school-going children hungry. They cannot concentrate in classes. It is one thing to be in a classroom. It is another not to have anything to eat, to be hungry while you're studying. You will not have the cognitive abilities to understand what you're being taught. Mr. Matua.
Let our experts...
Mr. Matua, the discussion is that 1996, the
Yes.
theme of the manifesto was tackling the tasks ahead. Corruption, education, infrastructure development, job creation. Fast forward 2020, if you look at the manifesto, it's almost like a replica of the 1996 manifesto. Don't you think we are regurgitating most of the things the NRM has already done?
We are not regurgitating anything. First of all, I want to go back to the UPE we are citing, that NRM is not revisiting some of its programs. That is not true. Myself, I am a product of UPE. If UPE policy is bad, how comes Matua, who is the product of UPE, is good? Let our people be objective in looking at this thing. UPE alone is a good policy. UPE is being failed, if any, by our unserious technocrats.
So you agree something is wrong with the system?
We just need to put it right, because we achieved the basic objective.
Indeed.
Let me tell you the objective. But before UPE, we had a fewer number of Ugandans going to primary school. When UPE came in, the number actually quadrupled. So you cannot, quantitative-wise, we got a big number. We can then talk about transforming this quantity into quality. Where does quality come from? Quality comes from a quantity. Then quality leads to another better quantity. So we should not look at this thing subjectively. We should look at them objectively, agree on the facts, so that we move forward as a country.
And of course, let's interrogate the sticky issue of the NRM primaries. The internal NRM primaries were marred by, first of all, violence, rigging. We saw brothers attacking brothers. We saw the vote being rigged in favor of some candidates or flag bearers. We saw some of the independents coming out to actually contest the results of the primaries. Yourself, you wrote to the Secretary General, Lumumba, highlighting your reservations on the whole process. Yes, let us in on that whole situation.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking that. Before I move into that, I want to request countrymen and women that politics is very important.
Without
In my
fighting.
own definition of
Politics without fighting.
well, my own definition, as I understand politics, is that politics is a highly contested game, owing to its original importance in dealing with the society issues like resource distribution and what have you. It is this high contest that sometimes attract unnecessary reactions from politicians who are not deeply grounded. You get the point? So I reject the explanation that politics is a dirty game. It is not dirty. It is only dirty people that make politics dirty. You get the point? So I want us to build a politics on a principle, that's ideology, realities, that is facts, truth, and the law.
So we saw.
So I want to look into the issue of violence in the primary election.
Aren't you worried that the same?
You have asked me.
Aren't you worried that the same situation might be replicated on the national
actually,
stage?
I want to go into the issue of violence. That you know, NRM is a mass party.
Yes.
It has been here. Very many people now know to go to parliament, I must have the NRM ticket.
Isn't that wrong
sometimes
thinking?
people do it dirty. You get the point? So it is not a position of the party.
So it's business as usual for such instances to take center stage within the
It is not business as
NRM.
usual, sir. It is not business as usual. It is just some people wanting to impose themselves on the people using any means available. So I don't expect the cases which happened in NRM primary to go into the general elections.
How so?
I am very much certain, because the elections will be managed by a different body and a different sets of
But it's
rules.
the same people who are going to be participating.
Not the same people. The chairperson of Independent Electoral Commission of Uganda is Justice Byabakama.
Who is appointed by President Yoweri Museveni.
The president nominates the chairperson, and it is the parliament that approves. I thank you very much for that.
So, Matua, aren't you worried that the rigging also that we saw at the internal NRM primaries shall be replicated at the national stage?
It will not go there. I have said the elections are managed by different bodies. Yes. And we have a better organized National Independent Electoral Commission, which is in charge of these elections we are going for. So I don't expect rigging.
Mr. Matua, what makes you so sure that if you give your candidate 5 more years, he'll be able to rectify most of the things that went wrong in the last close to 40 years?
I want to tell you something. I built from 1962 to 1980, then to 1986. At this point, I would like to recall my lost mentor, that is a Colonel retired Saban Bantariza. His soul rest in peace.
Indeed.
That is his course unit in Nalicha Nkwanze. He taught us in 2010 the struggles from 1981 to 1986, then from there to date. I want to tell you that the country spent 68 years in colonial captivity, plus the 24 years of lost opportunity. We have 92 years where this country's progress was actually stunted. So NRM is just going into 40 years. It is actually putting this country back into progress.
Many political experts...
I don't
Mr.
see...
Matua,
Now, look here.
Go ahead.
Look here. CCM in Tanzania, from 1961, is still going forward. Where is Tanzania going? It's going forward. So one party...
With a different president, though.
Let me tell you, one party remaining in government is for the good of a country.
But
in
many,
Africa here.
many political experts contend, Mr. Matua, that the reason Africa has failed to develop is because of these leaders who refuse to vacate power. What's your take on that?
That is not true. That is not true. I want to tell you that NRM has now perfectly put the enablers of socioeconomic transformation. I want to cite the enabler, peace and security. Can you talk about economic development in absence of peace?
Indeed.
It cannot happen. I want to invite Ugandans to actually benchmark from our neighborhood. South Sudan is in chaos. Somalia. Congo is just trying to recover.
What are you exactly saying? Mr. Batu, I've been hearing this narrative from NRM people that if we hand over power to the NUP or to the FDC, this country shall regress like Somalia and all these other countries. Why so?
Let me first build.
Why is it that peace shall only prevail under Museveni?
Let me first build this. The enablers, the facilitators of economic development, peace and security is one. Infrastructural development, the electricity, the roads, I said that. Yes. So now NRM has put this in place. The country is back on track. We are now at the takeoff stage. So it is very important that this country remains in the hand of NRM, in the hand of a trusted leader, so that we secure the future.
Mr. Matua, aren't you worried that if something befalls your candidate, just like what happened to Kanu Shaban Bantariza, God forbid, if something befalls your candidate, just like Kanu Shaban Bantariza, aren't you afraid that we shall be actually dealing with the power vacuum in this country if President Museveni is nowhere to be seen and there's no one to take over or fill his shoes?
I pray to God
because you did not prepare any other leaders. You've been consolidating power. Aren't you afraid of a power vacuum?
Number one, I pray to God that he doesn't take away our trusted leader.
Nature always takes its course, Mr. Matua.
Our constitution has provisions of how succession can be done. There are very many other people within the party who will take over. So I don't want to put myself in that speculation. I thank you very much.
The speculation is that NRM has not done enough to train young people with the requisite skills that they need, just in case they need to fill these positions. But as it is, Mr. Matua, we also have campaigns that shall be taking center stage next week after the nominations this week, Monday and Tuesday. How do you plan to navigate those campaigns in the wake of COVID-19?
Well, fellow Ugandans, the National Independent Electoral Commission has put forward scientific campaign. Let us respect this mode of campaign. It is for the good of all of us. This pandemic, we did not envision it. Nobody thought about it. We have COVID amidst us, COVID-19 amidst us. So far, we have over 12,000 confirmed cases. We have over 112 fatalities. Those are deaths. I therefore request Ugandans to abide by that condition. It is for the good of all of us all. Let us campaign using television, using radios, then the small meetings of 70 people and plus. It is for the good of all of us.
Some politicians have been complaining that they did not have the money to actually go ahead with these very, very expensive campaigns, because you remember funding that is supposed to be given to political parties, the 15 million shillings, the 15 billion that was shared by, the various political parties. The biggest share went to the NRM. But according to the Political Parties and Organizations Act, such funding should be shared equally. But then we saw the biggest share going to the NRM. And you are telling me that some of your candidates might not be having money for these campaigns. How so, if the NRM already got the biggest share, Mr. Matua, as a wrapper?
Actually, to tell you the fact, that sharing of the money, the 15 billion, was done using a provision in the same law. The strength of the political parties in parliament. NRM has the majority and qualified to get the better
But according
money.
to the law, it should have been shared on equal
I invite
funding.
these other parties to go out there and get more MPs so that next time they will get better money. Yes. It is the onus is to them to go and have more MPs. Yes. I thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Job Matua, the NRM media activist. Thank you very much for that. You're still watching Morning at NTV. My name is Romy Busiku. It's been an absolute pleasure. Of course, we are anticipating the nomination exercise to be taking off at around 9 a.m. at Chambago University.